and an ex-governor in Florida, and we're beating them by many. You know, when you're 28, 29, that's a lot. Especially, you know, when you think you have 16 people in the race. You had 17. One did sayonara. And now you have 16. So you have 16 people in the race. And when you get almost 29%, that's pretty good. And so that's Florida. Pennsylvania beating everybody. Pennsylvania just came out. And these are the big ones. These are the big polls and the respected polls. And Ohio beating everybody, 23. We're beating the governor of Ohio, who's a nice guy, by the way. I don't know, maybe there's a mistake, because actually the governor of Ohio is a quality guy, and he's doing a good job, but we're beating everybody by a lot in Ohio. So, I mean, I love what I see. We're having such a great time. We went on Meet the Press. It was very interesting. Anybody see it on Sunday? And Chuck Todd, who's a very good guy, but he asked me a question. Are there any reasons for which you'd get out? Is there any possible... I said, honestly, Chuck, you know, I'm not a masochist. And I went through and I read something, and I said, I'm not... If I were doing badly, I guess I'd get out. I mean, if my polls went down to nothing, and if you guys weren't all calling, wanting interviews, because, you know, you can always tell how you're doing because, like, the level of calling for these shows. And then they want to do gotcha, gotcha, you know, constantly. You do 400 interviews. You answer one question a little bit. So he said, well, is there any way? I said, honestly, if I did terribly, and all of a sudden next day headlines, Trump may get out. You know, in other words, he may. I said, I didn't say that. I said, in fact, my wife said, I'm not going anywhere. You better believe it. He knows Trump. You know, you've got the same mentality, right? We're not going anywhere. But, you know, I watched the politicians. They're at 1. I watched one of the politicians the other day. He's at 1. No chance. In fact, I think he's going down to 0. Would you get out? Absolutely not. We're in it to the end. Now, you know he's going to cancel out next week. But honestly, that's called politico speak. When you do that, and when you talk that way, it's really easier, because there's no story. So if he would have said, well, I'm thinking about it, I'm not doing well, you know, of course, nobody would have written that story anyway, because nobody cares. So politics is interesting, and I was never a politician before. For 3 months, I've been a politician. And, you know, for 3 months, we've been #1. You know, they used to say, well, Michelle Bachmann, nice woman, Herman Cain, good guy, but they were there for a week. And you know all about Michelle Bachmann, right? She won your straw poll, which you don't have anymore, right? Tells you. But she's a very nice woman, and Herman's a great guy, but so they always say, well, they were there, but they were there for a week. We've been there for now 3 months, more than 3 months. So it's good. It's good. But we talk about political speak, and I went through this process because to me, it's very interesting. Politicians are all talk, no action. They don't get it done. And by the way, I am funding, as Sam told you, I'm funding my own campaign. I'm putting a fortune. I'm spending a lot of money. Not as much as I thought, because frankly, I'm getting so much publicity, I don't have to advertise so far, you know, right? In fact, they did a piece in the Washington Post, and they said Trump has spent like $2 million, or whatever the number is that they used. But they said it's brilliant because he's leading and he spent less than anybody. That's like Charles O. Finley. Do you remember Charles Finley? The Oakland A's. He won the World Series like 3 times in a row, and he had the lowest payroll in baseball. Isn't that brilliant? To me, that's good. But to me, it's also maybe being a businessman. You know, it's being a businessman. And if you're covered a lot, the last thing you want to do is now you see Trump is covered, bum, 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 all over the programs, and then we put an ad in, right? Who the hell wants to see an ad? You OD on Trump. That's no good. I can't have that. But you call it politico speak, and honestly, I know it better than anybody, because I've always been, you know, I've always been the fair-haired boy when it comes to politics, because I was always a contributor. So I know the system, I know it well, and I was watching Jeb Bush, and Jeb Bush announced, he's a nice person, and he announced, and he is the mentor, as you know, of Marco Rubio, who's another nice person. And everybody said Marco will never run because he couldn't do that, it would be total disloyalty. And he would never run because Jeb Bush announced already that he was running. And they end up where Jeb runs, and then a few weeks later, Marco announces he's running. Everyone said, no, that can't be because it's loyalty. Well, first of all, politicians aren't loyal. You got to remember that. Okay. That was the only problem I had, thinking that maybe but loyalty. So loyalty's bad. And then you could see Jeb was very disturbed, but they went up to him. What do you think of Marco Rubio? Now, I would have said horrible things. I would have said he's a disloyal. That sounded like, right? I would have done that. And most of you would have done that, other than the politicians in the room. And you're all great politicians, by the way. Got a lot of them. This place is packed. But I would have said, I wasn't so happy, okay? But I saw Jeb, and he said, oh, I love Marco. He's a great guy. He's my friend. He's my dear, dear friend. I'm so happy he's in the... And you can see he's seething underneath, right? And then they said to Marco, well, what do you think of Jeb? And he said, Jeb is my dear, dear friend. And I said to myself, this is political speak. That's why we're not getting anywhere, folks. We're not getting anywhere. It's not working. We need something that's much tougher, much stronger. You know, they did something today that was my daughter sent me a beautiful article. She was reading a book about Winston Churchill, Tough Cookie. And it was very interesting. And they said he couldn't get a position in government because they said his tone was tough. His tone. Well, he did just fine after that, right? But they thought, and I remember where actually Hillary and Jeb were saying very strongly, and you know, that they thought that my tone was very strong. It was very strong. I'm saying to myself, I have a strong tone. We have people's heads are being chopped off because they're Christian, and plenty of others, by the way. But people's heads are being chopped off. We're getting beaten at every front. We're losing to China on trade. We're losing to Mexico on trade and at the border. We're losing everywhere. I say I'm going to build a wall, and it's going to be a real wall, a big wall, a strong wall. Nobody's coming through unless it's legal. Nobody is coming through. Unless it's legal, nobody's coming through. But if legal, they're coming through. We're going to have a big, beautiful door, and they're going to come through, but they have to come through legally. Or we don't have a country, folks. Or we don't have a country. If we're going to put up with it, we're just not going to have a country. And, you know, and don't worry, I won't. Don't change. He said, I'm not going to change. It's going to be built. And, you know, it's interesting. So then the politician said, and if you look back 12 years ago, everybody wanted the wall. You know why they couldn't get it done? Environmental impact statements. They couldn't get the environmental impact statements, among other things, but they couldn't. But everybody, you look at all of the people running, and on the Democratic side too, take a look. Everybody thought it was a great idea, but they couldn't do it because they don't know how to build. The cost was too much. The wall was just a little thing, you know, where they drive trucks over. Do you see the picture in the paper? Where they put a ramp on each side and they drive drugs right over, back and forth. This truck, it's having a field day. It's just terrible. So they all said it won't happen. And they said, and then I made another statement. And I love Mexico, and I love the Mexican people. I have thousands and thousands, over my life, thousands of Mexicans and Hispanics. I'm doing great with Hispanics. Nobody knows it. A radio talk show host, a Hispanic radio talk show host said, you know, they love Trump. That's right, because the ones that are in the country legally love me. Because they don't want what's happening. They don't want to see what's happening. It's true. They don't want to see what's happening. So, and they want to see a wall, and they want to see what I'm saying. In Nevada, the state of Nevada, you probably saw the poll came down. I'm leading with Hispanics. I'm doing fine with Hispanics. I'm doing great. And once they know and really hear my platform where we're going to bring jobs back from China, from Japan, from all these countries, believe me, we're going to do something. Numbers are going to be phenomenal. We had a poll with the African Americans where I was at 25%. That's a huge number for a Republican primary. It's, I think they said, the biggest number they've ever seen. And somebody said, if you actually got 25% of the African American vote, the election's over. It's over. You win. It's over immediately. So we're doing well, and we're going to continue to do well. I look at what's going on with the country. I look at how we're being taken advantage of in so many different ways. You know, we came up the other day, you saw, with a tax plan that really has been well received, and we're lowering it big league for middle income. We're lowering it big league because the middle income, it's like forgotten. They're like our vets. Our vets have been forgotten. They have been forgotten. And we're going to take care of our vets. We're going to build our military bigger, better, stronger than ever before. Ever before. Ever. And that doesn't mean we're going to use it. In fact, the stronger we get, the more likely it is that we won't have to use it. Right now, it's true. We don't want to use it. We don't want to have to go to wars. You know, I've taken a very different position on Syria. So we've got $2 trillion in Iraq. We lost thousands of soldiers, thousands, over 5,000. We have wounded warriors all over the place who I love, who we all love. I mean, they're wounded warriors. They're braver than all of us. These are incredible people. We have nothing. We have nothing. Right now, Iran is talking to Iraq. They're going to take it over. In fact, Russia's now talking to Iraq. They're going to do some bombing of ISIS, which, frankly, I think is a great thing. Let Russia bomb ISIS. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? They want to bomb them. Let them bomb them. Bomb the hell out of them. No, bomb them. But, and I said that, and somebody said, oh, that's controversial. A couple of the countries said, no, we will not speak to Russia. We will not talk to Russia. And we will go and confront Russia. What, over Syria? We're going to start World War III, right? Give me a break. We'll know when to play games, folks. We'll know when to play games. This isn't the time. And by the way, now Russia is, you know, when I first made the statement, they were hitting our so-called allies that we have no idea who they are. You know, you have Assad. He's a bad guy. And we're fighting for people. We have no idea who they are. You know, a general, I spoke to him 3 or 4 days ago, good guy, knows that area very well. I said, what do you think of the allies? You know, we call them the allies. They're called the rebels, Free Syrian rebels. What do you know? I said, we know nothing about them. He said they could be ISIS. We have no idea. So we're going to spend billions of dollars, all of this money, get into another quagmire. Watch. Russia will be in a quagmire. If you remember, Russia, when it was the Soviet Union, big, they went bankrupt. They went bankrupt over Afghanistan, right? They went back. They were there. They thought it was going to be like a 2-day deal, and it turned out to be a quagmire. Serious a quagmire. And then you hear, we're going to take in, so originally I heard 3,000 people from Syria, right? We're going to take in 3,000 people. I said, you know what? They asked me on one of the shows, what do you think, Mr. Trump? I said, well, you know, couldn't somebody else do it? Like, we're always doing it. Couldn't somebody else maybe do it for a change? But you know what, 3,000, I guess it's okay. You know, from a humanitarian standpoint, you look, it's terrible. And then the next time I was on television, it was 10,000. And I said, I guess, do it. Then, you're right, mobilize now is right. Then, the next time, I'm sitting down, listen to this. The next time, thank you. Oh, I thought they were on our side. That's all right, don't worry. Don't hurt them, don't hurt them. Nonviolence, nonviolence. We want to be nonviolent with those people. We want to be nonviolent with those people. That's okay. That's all right. So what happens is the next time I hear, we're taking in 200,000. They want to take in 200,000. Okay? 200,000. And you look at the reports, it's going to cost billions of dollars. You know, we owe $1.9 trillion. We owe $1.5 trillion to China, $1.5 trillion to Japan. Think of it. We owe think of it. We owe 19. It's impossible for us to survive as a country if we keep being stupid. We're not going to have a country left. We're not going to have a country left. So, and thank you for not hurting those people. I thought it was, you really behaved well. Look at the size of this guy. You were so nice. They are so lucky you were so nice. Thank you very much. That's good. Nonviolent. Every once in a while we talk about nonviolence, right? You're surprised to hear that from Trump, aren't you? But we have now, so we have 19 trillion in debt. We have to get rid of it. We have to start at least knocking the heck out of it. And to bring these 200,000 people in, 200,000, 200, that's like an army. Ah, maybe that's it. Because I look and I see the migration, which is sad. But then I look and I keep looking. I said to my wife the other day, I said, you know, I don't see too many women there. I don't see that many children. I see really strong-looking men. I mean, they look like Dan Gable, okay? And even younger. But I see all these young, strong men. And I'm saying that's a strange migration because they're all men. So then I said, I wonder why they're not fighting for their country, number one. And then you see what's going on in Germany where they're having tremendous problems with what's happening with their women, with these people. And what's happening, and you're reading the stories. I hate to even repeat what's going on. So now they want to talk about 200,000. I'm looking at all these men. We're going to bring them into our country. We know nothing about them. They're not documented. They can't give you papers. They don't know anything. We know nothing. This could be one of the great Trojan horses. This could make the Trojan horse look like peanuts, okay? Now, is that the case? Probably not, but the word probably is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. Probably not. It's probably not the case. But you know what? Why are we taking chances? We're going to spend billions of dollars over a 10-year period. They say it costs billions. And you know, I actually said to one, and I've said it very strongly, because if I'm president, and if I win and I become president, they are going back. They're going back. They're going back. They're going back. And one of the talking heads on one of the programs, you know, these talking heads, they get paid a lot of money. They don't know what they're doing. Don't forget, they're the ones that said, he'll never run. Then they'll say, he never files his financial. He won't do it because maybe he's not as rich as people think. And it turned out I'm much richer. I did file him, and I filed him on time. It turned out they said, oh. Then they're saying all sorts of things. Well, he won't last long. So when I started, I went to 8, and they said, he plateaued. Then the next week, I went to 16, right? And they said, oh, well, but that's a plateau. Then I went to 20 to 24. I mean, we had a poll today. I think it's 35 or 34. It's crazy. I want a plateau now. I'm satisfied. Hey, you know what? We want a plateau. But, you know, you look at it and you look at the thinking that we have and the thinking that we have going on in the country and what's happening. And we have to run this country with heart, with tremendous heart. With tremendous heart. We're going to repeal Obamacare and replace it with something much better. Much better. Much better. I don't know. I guess you people know very well. You see your premiums are going up 25, 35, right? Right? They're going up 35%. One person was on the other day, 51% increase in premiums. Your deductibles, forget it. You might as well, you're going to be dead by the time you can pick up. The deductibles are so high. They're unacceptable. So you really don't even have insurance if you think about it. We're going to repeal it. We're going to replace it with something great. We're going to get rid of the boundaries. You know, I have thousands of employees in different states. If I go to one state, I can't really go outside of the boundaries. You know, they have an artificial line. We're going to take care. So, you know, it's sort of interesting. We're building a wall at the border, but for insurance purposes, we're taking those walls down. Because what it means, I never actually thought of that before, but we're going to do the opposite. But what it means, you don't get bids. I get like one bid. And they say, take it or leave it. Oh, we'll take it. You get no bids. You get no bids. You feel like a jerk. And what happens is when those artificial lines wrapped around New York State, and you know who's making a fortune with Obamacare? The insurance companies. They're making a fortune. Now, they would rather have that than have where they can bid on all 50 states. They can bid on 50 states and beyond 50 states. They can go anywhere. They would much rather have a monopoly in Iowa. They'd much rather have a monopoly in New York. Or South Carolina. I was in New Hampshire the other day. They want a monopoly there. Then have the right to bid where you have 20 people, 20, 40. The only thing the government should be involved with there is the strength of the company. Because we want to know if there's a catastrophe, if there's a catastrophic event, if there's some bad times, that they are strong. Other than that, we don't want any involvement. We don't want any involvement. And you'll be able to have your doctor. Don't forget the 28 lies. 28 times President Obama said, you can have your doctor, you can keep your plan, you can... to say to the women. They haven't figured out that women are smarter than men. They haven't figured. It's going to take them another 150 years. And 150 years from now, they'll be doing it really right. But they are. The Persians, great negotiators. Great negotiators. The Iranians are great negotiators. Great. Always been known for it. I don't know, why somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct to say that. It just sort of happens, it's okay. But they're great negotiators. You say at the beginning, fellas, we want our prisoners back. You got to do it. Before we start, we want our prisoners back. Now, if you had the right messenger, immediately they'll say, okay. If they didn't say okay, what you do is you get up and walk, you double up the sanctions, and they'll call you a guarantee probably within 24 hours, but certainly within a week or two, and you get your prisoners back. That's the end of that, okay? But they didn't even ask for the prisoners. So now, 2 days ago, I'm reading the paper, and I see what they want. They're now willing to open negotiations. We just gave them everything and $150 billion. Now they're willing to open negotiations for our prisoners. But they want 19 prisoners that we have. And they want other things. And the statement was, we want 19 prisoners and we want many other things. Oh, how stupid are our people? It's so embarrassing. They want, I'm looking at one man, he's ready to faint up here because of this. He can't take it. Is that right? Look at him. Oh, he's got a Donald Trump shirt on. I love this guy. He says, you're fired. I love this guy. No, he's taking it. You got to see as I'm talking, he's going, oh. And he's not at all faint. He's a strong cookie. I look at him. I don't want to fight him. But it's just driving him crazy because he can't understand it. Neither can I. The incompetence of it all. So they want now, supposedly, 19 prisoners. I'm not surprised. They want 19 prisoners and other things. I'm watching 60 Minutes, and I'm watching some of the shows, and I watched their chief negotiator about a month ago. And I watched him. I said, man, he's too smart for our people. He's too smart for Kerry. He's too smart. He's too sharp. He was sharp. And they said, what do you think? Will you get along with America? He goes, well, America has got to come a long way before we agree to get along. America will come a long way. And if they behave, and if they do what's right, in other words, ka-ching, 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 I just see this guy. And I'm saying, we don't have the people, but I have the people. Oh, do I? Oh. I have Carl Icahn. You know Carl. I have the biggest, smartest guys. I have guys, I'll put them in charge of China. Carl, do me a favor. Watch over the China trade deal. I will tell you right now. Just go back to your homes, relax. We were going to do very well, okay? Very well. I have guys that are so great. I have the greatest negotiators. I know all of them. I mean, most of them. I know them from New York, from Wall Street. You know, we put political hacks in those positions. We put Carolyn Kennedy in that position. Japan, Carolyn Kennedy. I see them whining and dining on 60 Minutes. I was on 60 Minutes the other day. Anybody see me? That was the highest rated show. I was on with Putin. We looked very nicely together, right? Very nice. I was on with Putin. It was Trump and Putin. I don't know who got the ratings. One of us did because it was the highest rated show they've had in a long time. But I watched Carolyn Kennedy, and I see that Abe, who's the boss of Japan. You know, Abe, I don't know if you know, Japan is back. They're doing this monetary manipulation, their currency manipulation, big league. They were the kings, now China makes them look like small time, okay? But Japan is really back. And I see them whining and dining, Carolyn. That's not for her. That's not for her. Because her position over there, the ambassador, that's a very important position, especially with Japan and a couple of countries. You know, in certain countries, more important. She doesn't know anything about negotiation. And I see them whining and dining her state dinners. She's going to give up everything. I go to Los Angeles a few weeks ago. I see the biggest ships I've ever seen with cars coming in from Japan. Massive amounts of cars. And they're coming in like it's a Long Island Expressway off the phew, phew, phew. I'm going, wow, look at all those cars. And we sell beef. Some comes from Iowa. But you know what happens. They send it back, right? They send it back a lot of times. And sending beef back and forth doesn't work too well, right? I don't know too much about beef, but I know that. Not so good. It's called perishable. But they send it back. You know why? Because their farmers don't want our beef. So they're farmers, and they're very nationalistic. They don't want our beef. So it goes back and forth. But we, in the meantime, so we have, I said this the other day to my people, I want to get U.S. trade balance. I want to see, what do we make with China? Or what do we lose with China? And Japan and Mexico. I did the 3 countries. So I did Mexico first, because I wanted to see, because everyone says, you can't have politicians, right? How ridiculous. That wall will cost $7 billion, $10 billion. By the way, anything it costs, I could do it for 50%. It'll be twice as big and much more beautiful, okay? Anything. But I watch these politicians. A couple of them said to me today, because Rubio is very weak on immigration, very weak on illegal immigration. Bush is very weak. He said, remember, they come as an act of love, right? They're coming over. In the meantime, they're killing people. You know, it's your act of love. Act of love. Oh, this thinking. We got to get rid of these politicians, folks. Amen. We got to. So I said, what's the trade balance? How are we doing with Mexico? And the number was 45 billion a year we lose. 45 billion. We have and that doesn't include all the illegal drugs that come in, which is a much bigger number. That's probably bigger than the 45. And those drugs they go all over the place. Chicago, New York, all over, Los Angeles. You know, the liberals in Los Angeles love me. They all say, we want to vote for you because we're getting overrun by the illegals. You know, 50% of the new driver's licenses in Los Angeles are given to illegals. They're getting better treatment than our vets. Think of it. So I have guys that are heads of movie companies, and these are very liberal people. You know, these are the people that we read about. They're always endorsing, like Obama. You know, then they don't get invited to the White House to sleep there, and they're angry at him. You know, that's 90% of it. But these are people that aren't big for the Republican world, right? And they're all telling me, Don, they love you in L.A. They're all voting for you. Now, don't tell anyone I said that. But they're all voting for me. They're going to vote for me because they know what's happening. And they have a hard time with it psychologically, but they know what's happening. So Mexico, $45 billion a year. Do you mean to tell me I can't take $7 billion and build a wall? I know I can. In addition, we give Mexico billions of dollars. Billions of dollars. But the politicians say, like I'm some kind of a baby, you can't ask for that. How ridiculous. Why would Mexico ever think of paying $7 billion to build a wall? And I say, because they're making $45 billion a year, you idiot. It's unbelievable. No, it's unbelievable. So I said Mexico, 45 billion a year, okay? Trade imbalance, 45 billion a year. And by the way, Nabisco moving to, you heard about that. Nabisco leaving. I love Chicago. I love Chicago. By the way, toughest gun laws in the world, Chicago. And people are shooting themselves all over the place, okay? So when these people want to take away your Second Amendment rights, believe me, just refer them to Chicago. Refer them to some of these places. I'm a big Second Amendment person, believe me, the biggest. But, no, when they want to do that, just refer them in. So, okay. So Mexico, 45 billion. Then I say Japan, the cars. How much? Trade imbalance. Almost 60 billion a year. Then I say, okay, this is the one I didn't want to hear. Give me China. Give me China. They come back, and these are great numbers. These are accurate numbers. Almost $400 billion a year imbalance. Imbalance. How do we have? Now, they're taking our jobs, they're taking our money, they're taking our base, and we owe them $1.5 trillion. How does that work? That's like, I always say it's like a magic act. It's like a great magic act. We owe them $1.5 trillion. And they're taking our jobs, our money, everything. They're taking hundreds of thousands of jobs out of Iowa and other places. They're taking it. Now, I have China. They're tenants of mine in my buildings in New York. I have the biggest bank in the world. They're great people. From China. One of the biggest bank. By the way, a bank that makes Citibank look like a speck of dust. It's so big. I think they have 400 million customers. Think of that. It's the biggest in the world. They're my tenant. And I say, the lease is coming due. And they come, we want to renew the lease. I say, really? You know, who speaks? Look, because they respect what I'm saying, because they know I'm right. In a magazine, they had a thing, what do the Chinese most want? And one of the top 10 things that they most want, one of the 10 things was anything Trump. You believe it? And because they respect me. It's just respect. It's respect. So we have an imbalance with China of almost $400 billion a year. Now, if I can straighten out that one deal, our country's in great shape. I mean, I don't even have to worry about Japan, Mexico. I can just do China. It's so big. It's so big. It's so great. They have created, and I said this to another group, and they actually agreed with me, and these are very pro-China, and so am I. I get along great with the Chinese. Hey, look, they give me $25 and $50 million to buy apartments from you. Am I going to dislike them? No. No, I'm not. I mean, I have a great relationship. The funny thing is the United States does not have a good relationship with China, right? So we fight in Afghanistan, and Afghanistan has great mineral wealth. People didn't know that. Great mineral wealth. And you have tremendous mountains in Afghanistan. Ridges, mountains. And we're over here fighting. And on the other side of the big mountain, China is over there with excavators taking out the minerals. We're fighting, they're taking out the minerals. Who is the biggest purchaser of Iraqi oil? The biggest purchaser is China. Now, we spend our $2 trillion, our lives, our wounded warriors. The biggest purchaser is China. Look, I take my head off. I'm not angry at them. I'm angry at our leaders. I'm angry at our leaders for not knowing what's happening. And I'll tell you something. I will bring that down to a point where you'll be very happy, and maybe we'll even make something. And even if we broke even, do you know the difference in our country if we could just be like even? And it's so easy to do. They manipulate their currency. They make it impossible for you folks and businesses to compete. They, by the way, charge taxes all over the place if you're going to send your product in there. We don't. We don't. You know, people talk about free trade. That's not free trade. That's dumb trade. It's dumb trade for us. I'm a free trader. But you need to have people that can represent us properly. I believe in free trade. And all we have to do is say, listen, if you don't bring your currencies up, if you stop it, because they just did a manipulation, the biggest in the last 2 decades. You read about it 2 weeks ago. Headline. Nobody does anything about it. They devalued their currency the most that they've done, and they've been doing it for a lot. But the last one was a big, because they figure that what we have is we have people and politicians, meaning our leaders, politicians, that are so inundated with other problems between Syria and the Iran deal, which we can't do, and so many other deals, that they've seen this and they are so inundated with so many that we'll be able to devalue the most we've done in 2 decades. 2 decades, that's 20 years. That's after killing us for the last long period of time. That we'll do it and we'll get away with it. And they got away with it. In fact, it wasn't even that big a story. But it means you can't compete. And all we have to do is say, fellas, look, here's a story. We're going to charge you tax coming into the United States. I don't think they'll ever pay it, by the way, because I think they'll behave. But we're going to charge you about a 32% tax coming in. And that's peanuts. We're being very nice at 32%, because what they've done is far greater than 32%. But all of a sudden, I have a friend from China who bought an airplane. Bought an airplane in the United States. He can't get it back to China. I said, why? Because the tax is so big that I refuse to pay it. Now, you don't know that. You don't hear these stories. But with China, we don't charge them anything because we have people that don't have a clue. So with my people, believe me, I have the best. I have the best. You know, I always say, not all of them are nice. Do we care if they're nice? Do we really care? I say it all the time. Some of them are horrible, miserable, beautiful people. You know why they're beautiful? They're beautiful because they're going to do a beautiful job for us, because that's what they do. They're great. They're the best in the world. We have the best negotiators in the world. We have better negotiators than the Persians. We have the best in the world, but we don't use them. We use political hacks. We use people that gave campaign contributions, and they get a job in government because they want to work in government. We have people that become ambassadors that shouldn't be ambassadors. And other countries say, wow, this guy really doesn't have a clue. Never been to these countries, doesn't know anything. And these are the people we have. And the nice part is, and I don't know if it's worth it, because it's something that, you know, it's not, I'm not used to this. I'm being offered millions and millions of dollars to run. You know, I'm in number 1 position. When you're in number 1 position, man, you wouldn't believe the money could flow in. I don't take it. I sort of feel like maybe I'm as stupid as the people representing us. It's so foreign to me. No, I don't want it. I don't want it. I mean, I have people, I mean, we take the little tiny women sending in $7, $8, $100, $200. We take little contributions, because how do you send it back? They want to invest in the campaign, and it's a great thing. And if you sent it back, oh, I'm sorry, we're not taking your $7. We're not taking your $322. You know, you can't do it. But so it's little stuff. And I want them. I love those, because that's an investment. That's like somebody proud of the country. But we're not taking the contributions. We're not taking contributions of millions, $5 million from a lobbyist, $2.5 million from these special donors and special interests. And everybody that puts up that money wants something for it. And it's not good for the United States. It's not good for the country. So I'm self-funding. I'm the only one that's self-funding. You know, when you look at Hillary and Jeb and Marco and all of the people, they're all taking tremendous amounts of money. I mean, I had a case, it was a very bad thing. Club for Growth. You know who the growth is? Their wallet, that's the growth. Club for Growth. This group, they say, oh, we're a conservative group. They come up to see me in my office. The guy asked me for $1 million. I said, I never even heard of him. He wants $1 million. I don't mind. I can give him $1 million. But I never heard of the guy. So he comes up. They want $1 million for Club for Growth, a conservative organization. So I'm conservative. I said, well, that's fine. But, you know, and I get it in writing to show you how stupid they are. He puts it in writing, writes me a letter. We'd like him in. We turned him down. They did negative ads on me in Iowa. Do you believe? Did anybody see the ads? They were actually good ads for me. I looked good. You know, I was younger. I really looked. I actually said, I wish I could look like that again. Wow. I didn't realize I was that good looking. No, they gave you these great ads. They said I raised taxes. You know, my tax plan is cutting the hell out of taxes. In fact, if there was any criticism, it was that I cut taxes too much. But they said I raised taxes. I raised taxes. You know, they came up with all nonsense. And I don't know, I spoke with Chuck, I spoke to my people. They say nobody even talks about it. But think of it. They come to your office, you say very nicely, no. All of a sudden, they come out with a vicious letter they're against Trump. I guarantee you one thing. If I gave them $1 million, there's no ads, there's no nothing. So a lot of cases, you know, when you watch television, and they have $300, $400 million out there, all of them. Not Club for Growth. I think I've really crippled them. I've really hurt them badly. They have been hurt very badly. They have been hurt very badly. In fact, I'm doing a book because Simon & Schuster, great company, came to me. They want me to do a book. You believe this? So I said, I'll do it. And they made a big payment. I'm going to give it to charity, all of it. Big payment, a lot of money. I mean, I feel stupid not doing it, if you want to know the truth. The last thing I wanted to do is a book. But I called the book. You know what it's called? I was going to say, the Make America Great Again book. It's too nice because our country's in trouble. Then I was going to say, Greatness in America. And I said, it's too nice. Then I had a photographer come up. And I said, do you think I should be smiling? I took this beautiful smile, and there was one picture that was just mean. I think he got me in it was a horrible, horrible, mean picture. Like a nasty-looking guy, no smum. I'm like this. And then I said, you know, I read something, and it was so bad. I said, we're going to call it Crippled America, because that's what it is. It's Crippled America. And we're going to call the book. And I thought I'd have some, you know, Simon & Schuster, big deal, right? The best, the Rolls Royce of the books. And I said, you know, I think they probably won't allow that title to be used because it's a tough title, nasty title. And we're going to call it Crippled America. It's going to come out in 3 or 4 weeks. I'm so proud of it. I worked so hard on it. With everything else, I'm writing books. This was the last thing. But it was a lot of money that's going to go to charity. And frankly, I think the title is amazing. And I used that horrible picture of me. It's a horrible picture. And I talk about our country. I talk about the problems. I talk about the solutions. But you know, the biggest solution is really smart people. That's really, if you get right down, because there's so many things, whether it's trade or military or this or that, there's so many different things. The borders. You know, Dwight Eisenhower was a good man, right? Everybody liked him. You know, they did a big operation years ago, big operation where they moved people out that were here illegally. And it didn't work because they were moving them right over the border, and they kept coming back, and then you know what happened? They moved them all the way down south, hundreds and hundreds of miles away. Nobody ever came back. And nobody said Dwight Eisenhower was a bad person. He was a great humanitarian. He was a great general. But he was our president, and they did it. But we don't do things like that. Today we have Sergeant Bergdahl, a traitor, right? Bergdahl. So Bergdahl, today, Bergdahl was a traitor. 6 people died going after him. He left. He was a traitor. 6 people died going after him. Died. Killed. Young, incredible kids. Unbelievable people. Young people. 6 of them died. Now they get Bergdahl, and what do? They trade one traitor for the 5 guys that they most wanted for the last 10 years. Right? They got the 5 guys, and this is the way we negotiate. And then the other day, I'm hearing, you know, normally, hey, 25 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, you do what he did, it's bing, and it goes quickly, right? It's called, you're dead. Treason. It's treason. You don't even hear that word. It's treason. So what do we do with Bergdahl? The other day I'm hearing, well, it's unlikely he'll serve any jail time. You know, he wasn't feeling so good. Can you believe this? Can you believe this? Here's a guy who was a traitor where 6 people were killed looking for him. And don't kid yourself, a general and a colonel went to interview the people, the young men and women in his group. And they all knew before they made the deal that he was a traitor. You know, that wasn't like, oh, they made a mistake. I could almost understand that. We made a mistake. I wish we didn't do it. They knew that he left. So why would they make a deal like that? Why would they do it? So they're getting 5 people that they most wanted. We get this guy, and the other day I'm hearing that he probably won't even have to serve jail time. Our country is in serious, serious trouble. And I can only say this, if I get elected president, you are going to be... No, I know. I hear that a lot. I'll say if, because honestly, look, I'm running against a lot of different people, and who knows what happens. But so I have to say if, and I'd like to say when, but I don't want to be too braggadocious. Does that make sense? No. But look, you do. I mean, we have a long way to go. We have actually only 4 months now. Think of it, 4 months until we hit that big day, that special day that, you know where that starts? Right here. Right here. It starts right here. But if I get elected president, I will tell you that you folks, you're going to remember this day, but you folks are going to be so proud of our country. We are going to have so many victories. We're not going to have defeats anymore. We're going to have so many victories. We're going to be run really smartly. We are going to have a country that you're going to be so proud of. We're going to take this country back. And we have something that's amazing. We have the people. I see the people. I see it everywhere I go. The people are so incredible. So we're going to take this country back. We're going to make America great again. And I say it now, and I've been saying it for the last week, and I see it. I know we can do it. We're going to take it. We're going to make it better than ever before. We can do that. Better than ever before. So I just want to thank all of the people in Iowa. We're doing great here. Thank you. I love you too. But we're doing so great in Iowa, and I just want to thank all of the people. And I'll be here a lot over the next 4 months and beyond, by the way, and beyond. And we're going to do something really, it's going to be a beautiful thing to watch. And it's been a beautiful thing to watch because there is a movement going on. This is not just like people getting together. This is a big movement that's going on all over the country, and you know what it represents. We're getting the biggest crowds, the greatest people. I just want to thank everybody, and I will see you soon. I'll be back very soon. Thank you very much.